Good morning, everyone, and thank you guys so much for joining. We hope everyone had an amazing long weekend and an awesome Labor Day. Welcome Justin, Corbin, Shelby, Vicky, Mac, Shelly, James, and Alex to the stream. So far this morning, we have Tesla popping up a little bit. It's looking pretty good. We're getting very close to that 740 resistance. And in terms of the SPY overall, it's very choppy this morning. There's no major movement in either direction. It was kind of all over the place. So heading into this morning, in my opinion, one of the main stocks to watch is Tesla.
Yeah, me too. Tesla's really good. SPY's really good too. Like you said, it's kind of down today, but it is riding that support at like 450, 250 on the SPY. Tesla is actually looking really good, kind of breaking out above that 740 resistance that it's been posting. And we actually hit off of that 3 days in a row to end the week last week. And it was just pretty significant, I think, to break above that this morning. And honestly, Tesla looks pretty good, and we might get a little bit of an intraday move to the upside. And I also saw NIO was kind of following Tesla up. They also broke out of their $41 resistance this morning, and now they're just kind of sitting flat like Tesla. But I'm guessing at open, both of these stocks might get a pretty good boost up with the way that they've been moving so far.
Good stuff. I didn't even see that Neo action until you pointed it out. So that's looking pretty solid. Glad to see that. Welcome Augusta, AJ, Mike, KK, and Maine to the stream. So good to have you guys joining. Maine said, good morning. Really needed that holiday. I definitely know what you mean right there. It's always good to have a nice little break here and there with the market. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to head into the market today. Like Tom said, Neo and Tesla are moving pretty well. Another one I was looking at was Corsair. I know it's just been like lingering around like the $28.50 area for probably like the past 3 to 4 trading days. So I'm personally hoping we see a nice bounce up.
Yeah, me too. We've been sitting right between this channel of 28.50 and there's an upper level of like $30. And I think it could end up bouncing back up today with the way it's holding. It's actually holding pretty strong. And as long as we hold this level, I think that the calls will be pretty good for Corsair. And Corsair's actually had a lot of hype behind it. And I feel like a lot of people are buying up this dip down here while it's low because Corsair is not just like a company that doesn't sell any products. Like, they're actually like pretty legit and they have a lot of good products out there. So they're honestly pretty large, and I would think that they could go up here in the shorter term.
Alrighty, and then we have Shelby saying, or no, Shelly saying, good morning, NVAX looking good in pre-market thoughts. So NVAX, it is looking pretty good. It's up 2.5%. I mean, it's on an amazing uptrend, especially on that daily. There is a really strong resistance right at 260. So if we can break 260, I like it, but I don't know, it looks like a really strong resistance.
Yeah, that's going to be really hard to move above there. But I'm with you, Mike. If it moves above there, it could be pretty good. That resistance is really strong. And as long as we break that, I think it's pretty solid. But if we don't do that, then obviously I just won't play the stock. But NVAX is not terrible by any means.
All right, and then welcome info to the stream. But Tom, while we're talking about breakouts, we can't forget about DraftKings. Check this out. Just broke above that nice resistance. It's popping off.
Look at that, $62, Mike. I never expected to see this morning already. And wow, what a breakout. I think they had that solid resistance at like 61.60, moving up to 62. And wow, that's really good looking, Mike. Look at that on the daily. I mean, we might get a solid move up to like 64.50, $65. I could see it happening pretty easily. There's honestly not too much resistance above from where we are right now.
And then check out Neo. This is awesome. Let's go.
NIO up 2.8%. There we go. Yeah, I mean, let's get the nice run out of these stocks. I mean, they've been getting beaten down like DraftKings, Neo, and a couple others. And I know that like last week was not the best for them. So I'm hoping that they can just keep running like this. Really good moves, up 3% now on Neo. Just keeps going all the way up to 41.60. And, once these stocks start to break out like this, sometimes they really get a nice run like what we're seeing right now. And this morning in pre-market, it was just setting up so nicely for a bunch of stocks.
There we go. Then we have Alex saying UPST is still going. Let's check it out. UPST. I cannot believe this one, Tom. Like, we were in calls when it was at like 130 or something like that, and now it's at 252. I just can't believe that it's still going. You know what I mean? Like, this is like almost like a month-long explosion.
Yeah, I was expecting a big resistance at like 250, but it just keeps going. That momentum's still there. And man, I'm wondering when it'll finally stop. I mean, we all know at some point it's going to stop and start to turn over a little bit. But wow, I mean, there's definitely a lot of momentum here, and I'm glad it keeps going for everybody holding it. But I mean, at some point, this thing has to start to turn over. I mean, I thought maybe 250 would be the top, but who knows? Maybe we'll get to like 260 or something like that.
Yeah, it's definitely a crazy play. Like, I'm looking at different strategies to deploy on this one. Like I was thinking like a put debit spread, but I don't know. It's definitely risky. And then we have Mike saying, is this a good time to add more shares to my PENN position? I'd say so. I mean, to be completely honest, like I could see it like pulling back a little bit in the short term, but if it's a long-term position, I definitely think so. It looks pretty good. It kind of looks very similar to the DraftKings setup. I like it for the long term. It's still at a good level. So to answer your question, I would say yes.
Yeah, me too. And we've just been sitting here at this 85 resistance and just consolidating a little bit. And we've definitely consolidated here a lot in the past, especially in like the middle of May. Go look in the past. We were right around $85 there. So I could see it just consolidating or slightly going down for a little while and then get another nice upside trend. But I would say for like the next year or two, I'm more bullish on it. And if I was going to play it, I think shares or leaps is a great way to go right now.
Good stuff. All right, and then we have Shelby saying thoughts on GSAT with the Apple event. I mean, it could definitely be big. I just want to throw a little reminder in there. Like, whenever it comes to events, like especially with Tesla, whether it's Battery Day, AI Day, earnings, or whatever, a lot of times people just love to hype these things up. And then, once the event actually happens, even if it could be like a really solid event, the stock can still fall. So just keep that in mind. But overall, it's trending very well, and it looks pretty decent.
Yeah, it really does. GSAT has a lot of momentum behind it. It's starting to move out above $2.20 this morning. And as long as that momentum keeps up today, I think it could end up being a pretty solid play today. And GSAT, it's definitely had a lot of hype behind it. And look at this gap up on that Apple news. So anything with Apple can be pretty big. And, we had a few red days after the initial news came out. And I'm glad to see these green days as we recover back, because if we can recover and finally break out of that first gap up that we had above like 260 or 265, I think we'll get a really good run.
Good stuff. So I'm just checking a couple things right now. Looks like CCJ is doing pretty well. Awesome opening. Literally couldn't have asked for a better opening, so it looks good. But yeah, CCJ's on a run. I really like that one. And then we have Time saying, how are you guys feeling on Pfizer? So Tom, I'll let you cover this one first.
Yeah, Pfizer, I kind of like it. It looks really good today. It has the momentum this morning, almost like Tesla or NIO. And I'll be honest, it's been bouncing off the bottom support here pretty well. They had a big pullback here on the daily chart, bounce right off support, and now we're getting a nice trend, or a nice move, I should say, to the upside, move/trend. But either way, Pfizer looks like it's moving very nicely, and I would say it could be good for a nice swing trade possibly. It's hard to say though. We are getting like into a little bit of like overbought territory here, but with the way it pulled back really big like last week, I think it could end up going back up a little bit this week, especially maybe to like 48, 49, or possibly that $50 resistance there. I think it's pretty possible.
So I can definitely see it popping up this week, but like over like the next couple of weeks, the next couple months, I'm expecting like more of like a downtrend. I think that this setup that we're in right now is gonna be more of like a dead cat bounce. I could see it popping up to maybe 48, 49, something like that, and then just like slowly trailing down. That's just my opinion. I just think that, Pfizer's a huge company. They have a ton of shares in the float, and they literally went from $39 up to $51 over the course of like a month or so, or maybe a month and a half. Like, that's just a crazy move. And even when you look throughout history, it almost always like has a pretty nice size pullback afterwards.
Yeah, like look at the last time it broke out here back in the beginning of 2018. Look at this July move it had right up through that resistance. And then, of course, we run to all-time highs, kind of like what we've done right now. And then it just has all these up and down moves where we just start to head down for the next like 6 months. And I could see that happening again now. Like I said, I would only expect like a little bit of a move up. I don't think we'll be breaking all-time highs or anything like that, but good point. And look at that in the past, it definitely has done it before.
Alrighty. And then we have Spacely saying, "Morning, guys. My DraftKings calls are printing up 50% so far." There we go. So, yeah, it looks great. I'm a huge, huge fan of DraftKings, especially for the long term. And, you can't beat the breakout that they're in right now. So, good stuff there, Spacely. Then we have Alex saying, "What do you think of SNOW for a swing trade? It's trending nice on the daily chart, but it's got a big dip at open." So SNOW, let's take a look. I mean, it definitely is trending very nice on the daily chart. I think it looks pretty good. It's trending very well, making higher highs, higher lows. I like it.
Yeah, and look at that. That dip got bought right back up and it's already back. So I think it can end up being pretty good too. And Snowflake has been pretty hyped up over the past couple of years. I know a lot of people were wishing they would have bought Snowflake as they were down at these lower levels. And man, they've really rocketed themselves back up. And there's a lot of momentum here. This is definitely a pretty good bullish setup.
Alrighty. Then we have Maine mentioning Palantir. So Palantir's not doing much today, but it still is in that uptrend that we've been talking about, Tom. It's just it goes in these month, I guess you could say 1 to 2 month long uptrends, and it looks like we're still in that right now. So I like it so far. IV isn't too bad. I still like the setup.
Yeah, me too. And there is a lot of resistance around 27. That's probably why it's starting to slow down a little bit and maybe expect to break up. We're seeing stuff like NIO, DraftKings, and all these other stocks just finally breaking up and out of those little ranges they were in. And I could see Palantir possibly doing it too. Like I said, huge resistance at 27.50. I would think eventually if we could get above that, we could get a nice easy run up to $30.
All right, good stuff. And then I saw a bunch of people were mentioning Apple, so I just want to take a look at it. Apple's still at that, it's still in this, I don't know how to describe it. It's not running with a ton of momentum right now. And I still think we're seeing a rotation out of tech and into other areas of the market. We have DraftKings, Neo popping up, Corsair, PENN. We have all these other stocks popping up. And while Apple is at all-time highs, in my opinion, it still doesn't have that explosive movement that it has when all the other tech stocks are being bought up.
Yeah, definitely. And you can see that last Monday was the last real day. It had a lot of huge momentum to the upside. And on that day, the whole market did pretty well. So looking at it, Apple, of course, they'll do well if they could break out above 155.20 today. And then they end up running that could end up being a pretty good intraday move. But I'm with Mike. I'm definitely more of looking for Apple to come down here. Look at them on the daily chart, getting so overextended. And of course, it could pull a UPST and just keep going up to 160 or 161. But realistically, I would expect a little bit of a pullback, possibly down to 140 or somewhere like that at that really good support.
Good stuff. So Tom, Neo is booming. I love to see this. It's at the top of my watch list so far.
Yeah, that's actually awesome. It just continues to have this upwards movement today, and the momentum is still there, which is great. I know Tesla is still moving too. So seeing NIO still going is awesome, up 3.2%. I mean, no one really expected this. I don't think this type of move today from Friday, but the move's awesome. And the way that these stocks like NIO, Tesla, and a couple others, they really gapped up today in pre-market and just opened up a little bit higher. And that really gave the green light, I think, to a lot of these bullish investors this morning. A lot of guys really hopped in, and that breakout was so significant. I'm glad to see it keep running, and just what a solid technical play. And just, I mean, overall, just a great play, great moves out of Neo and Tesla today, both. I mean, just for a day trader, this is just the setup you always ask for.
Alrighty. And then we have Jorge saying Tesla above 750. I saw that, so it's up 2.5% or so. It's looking good. It's bringing up all those ARK funds, Tom. ARKK is up very well, at least so far. And then we have Varun saying, good morning, thoughts on Peloton. So, PTON, I like it for the long term. For the short term, they don't really have any momentum right now, but I'm actually very glad you brought this up because I might sell some puts on it.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good way to go. And, Peloton has that huge support at $80, and they're actually pretty far away from there right now. So if they fall down to 80, I would think it could be a great pickup. But even right now, it's a good time to start averaging in for sure.
Alrighty, and then we have G saying, Clove, smooth brain ape is smiling. Let's take a look at Clove. Oh, it's doing pretty well, 5%, Tom. Let's go. It's looking great.
Yeah, that's a really good move for Clove, Mike.
Let's go. Yeah, I mean, it looks really good. Looks like there's going to be a big resistance level right at 950, and if it breaks that, looks awesome. But I really like Clove. Hopefully it keeps popping up. Then we have Jorge saying, yeah, hope Clove doesn't end up selling off yet again. I know what you mean. You know, it starts off its mornings in an amazing way, and then normally just tanks off. So I'm hoping to see some good movement out of this one. I'm a fan of it.
Yeah, it has a lot of momentum, and I'm really glad to see it breaking out above like $9. I think that's a pretty good way to see it break. And like you said, there is that resistance at 950, but we're kind of between there right now. So hopefully it can go up to 950 and possibly break that even, because Clove has just been kind of sitting here for a long time. And I would really love to see it move back up to 10 and maybe even above $10, because that was the last major resistance.
Tom, I don't know if today's the day of the squeeze or what, but we have Clove popping, we have AMC popping. It's looking really good. You know what I mean? Like BBIG's holding its ground, but AMC's really starting to pop off.
Yeah, for sure. I'm surprised I'm not seeing more people typing AMC in the chat or anything. I mean, wow, look at this move. I mean, it's a great move, up 6%, 2 points. That's pretty good for AMC. And wow, look at AMC like triple bottoming down here at $42.50. Like, what a good setup here, like off the technicals, triple bottom there, pretty good support, and overall just moving good off the SMAs too. And, I do see some resistance coming up now, kind of like right where we're at 47. That might actually be a pretty big intraday level. And then I have 48 right above that. But man, that move this morning was awesome. I know we talked about this a ton in last night's YouTube video too.
Yeah, looks good. And then we have Maine mentioning Apple. So Apple is in the green, Tom. Looks like we just broke all-time highs.
Yeah, look at that. It finally broke this morning. I mean, it definitely looks like a bullish setup, but like you said, it's just slowly like just staircasing itself up. Like we're not seeing any like huge moves or anything. Like even if you would have got calls today, like unless you bought them like on this dip at like 154.50, you probably wouldn't be up that much right now. And hopefully it continues to run though, because we just broke that 155 resistance. And I think we could continue to see a move, but the question is are we going to get that type of explosive movement like we talked about earlier? Like the way to look at it is probably not. And, at some point we're going to hit a resistance and come down pretty hard. So I'm more of like what Mike said earlier, like look at these other stocks like DraftKings, Palantir, Neo, and some of these other ones that might get a nice run up while stocks like Apple fall. But either way, these intraday moves can be pretty good for Apple if you catch it at the right time.
All right, and then we have Jorge saying MMAT should be popping too. So, it's been popping, but it's not today. It's down like 4%. Looks like a pretty strong rejection right at open.
Yeah, and we're actually seeing all those other hype stocks moving like AMC and others. So it's kind of scary to see MMAT falling off. But, maybe people are selling out of MMAT and buying into AMC and stuff again. But either way, look at the daily. I mean, MMAT is not bad, but they did just hit resistance at like $6.40 or 50 cents. So I'm definitely not surprised to see it coming down a little bit today. And we've been going straight up ever since $3. So we honestly had a nice 100% move there.
Yeah, and then we have Jorge saying Workhorse is trying. It's trying, but they had that horrible news with the SEC investigation. So, I don't know. I think that's definitely going to halt a lot of people with that one. I was also looking at PLUG and CHPT. I do like these two setups, and, their IV is still, like, high in general. So I like these ones for some short puts.
Yeah, they actually look pretty good, and they're moving today at open too. So that's a great thing to see. And I know CHPT had those great earnings last week, and then right after the earnings came out, they got destroyed. So hopefully they can get a nice move back up. And I'm glad it fell because it's bouncing off support. And who knows, we might be able to catch something for this later on.
All right, and then we have A saying been holding the 38 strike FXI calls for one of 2022, since you pointed out a few weeks ago, up 77%, which is 10K and still going. So there we go. Yeah, FXI is really popping off. It's definitely a relatively risky play given that this China situation is so unique, but it's awesome to hear that you really banked off that one. So it's looking good. It never hurts to lock in profits, but overall looks awesome for you.
Yeah, I think that was an amazing buy. And look at that. You bought right by support too. Like there was that solid support around $38. Overall, it was just a great play. BABA was down, all those stocks were down and people were really looking to buy those dips up. And I'm glad that you did. That's a really good play there, Augusta.
Yep. Alrighty. So looks like on the top of my watch list, Tom, we have Baidu, and it's up like 4% or so. It's really popping off, which makes sense given that the FXI ETF is popping, which is just a bunch of China stocks. But Baidu's looking good, Baba's looking good, Neo's looking good, JD looking good. They're all looking really good.
Yeah, they are. Look at JD even. I mean, wow, that's a pretty good breakout above $80 there. And it's starting to really run up today. Like these Chinese stocks are starting to really recover themselves back pretty well. It seems like Baba's honestly like falling behind a lot of the others. Like look at JD up quite a bit. Neo's up a little bit more, I think, too, than Baba, or they didn't fall near as much in the beginning, but Baidu's even up a lot more than Baba. It seems for some reason like Baba's just lagging behind them a little bit, but either way, Baba still looks decent. I think they all look good, Mike, to be honest, for a pretty good dip buy for the long term. It's just that China stuff scares people. I mean, what do you think, Mike? Like, do you think the China stuff will really like obviously like the people have been talking about like de-risking and stuff, or I'm delisting these stocks. Do you think that that's really a possibility? Like personally, I don't think that that's going to happen, but I know that it's just a total guess here, but what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, of course, anything can happen. You know, the world's crazy, and we've seen some crazy things happen. You know, over the past 2 years. But I'm kind of with you, Tom. Like, I think it's a very, very low probability of them actually being delisted. You know, that's just my opinion. But like, I just don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, it would be so catastrophic if that happened. Like, I think that we'd have to have a lot more tension with China than we have right now. And I just think that that's just some fear. You know, people obviously have short positions and stuff. So I'm not surprised to see, people kind of trying to spread that fear a little bit. And hey, it is always a possibility. So it could end up happening. It's just it's definitely very, very low. But either way, these Chinese stocks are really low. And I think they're pretty good buying opportunities for the longer term, as long as that doesn't happen. That's really the only risk to it here to me.
Alrighty, so then we have Sean saying Donkey Horse is always trying. Yeah, I mean, it was looking so good, Sean, until that news came out. You know, like it was actually, I mean, it was kind of squeezing on the day, and then that news came out and just dropped the stock in like 2 minutes. Like we can see it right here on the chart. Like it was looking so good, it broke above like $10.50. We were going for a retest, and then all of a sudden, boom! Just tanked off. So sucks to see that, but hey, it's still at some good levels. And then he said, any long-term thoughts on X? So personally, like if I were to buy this one for the long term, I would get shares of it. It's just my opinion, and I like other stocks more, like I have in the stock signals chat, but this one isn't bad at all. Tom, I know you look at this one every now and then. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I really like X for the longer term. More of like what you said. I would get more of shares or like maybe leaps or something, but shares would be more the way I went because, this stock could easily fall and consolidate for a year or so. Like it could definitely move like that. It's hard to say because the price of steel got so catastrophic that I think it's going to throw a big wrench into the way this stock moves. But my main concern is that it fell below this blue trend line. And then we actually retested it while we double topped at $30. Now we're failing to break out. So I don't know. It seems really hard for me. If it falls down a little bit more, like maybe down to like the 20 support or something, I'll look at it a lot harder than I will right now. But with it falling out and below that trend line, I think I'm just going to wait for it to maybe move back above $30 or just wait for some more good news to come out. Because in the short term, I could really see it falling. That's just my personal opinion. Steel really went exponentially like to the upside. The inflation really made steel, oil, and some of those other things like commodities go up. And we saw that steel was just one of those items. And you can see US steel during COVID was at $4.54. Now we hit $30. Like that move up was insane. That's 500%. So I could definitely see a little bit more of a pullback over the next like 6 months to a year. But I really like this company. I think US Steel will end up doing great for the long term. So I'm with Mike. Like I love it for the long term and I would grab shares, but it's just like for the next 3 months, I feel like they could go down.
Yeah, I mean, it's not my favorite long-term play. Like, I like a lot of other ones better, like DraftKings, PENN, Corsair,
Sure.
Boeing, RCL, a bunch of stocks like that for the long-term better. But I don't think it's bad to have a little bit of exposure to X. But then, Tom, we have a lot of people talking about Clove. Like, we need some levels on this one. What do you think?
Yeah, Clover, we're actually getting up above $9.50, kind of like what you pointed out earlier, Mike. And it looks like we're getting a solid breakout above there. So hopefully it keeps running intraday. I think the next resistance is right up at $10. There's not really anything between 950 and 10. So I could see 10 being the next resistance. And honestly, the last time we hit 10, we fell down. So it's really hard to say that if we could like break out above that today. I would say more of look at that for tomorrow, but for today, we might run up to 10. So watch out for the resistance up there, but I don't think we'll break above that today by any means. But this move up is really good, up 8% already. And, we just broke 950. So I could see it, like I said, possibly hitting 10 today or even higher tomorrow. But I don't know. The move today is already so big that I think it'd be hard to catch another play today on Clover. But either way, it's a great move. And I'm glad to see it bouncing off that $9 support, which was honestly a really good move. Like, everybody who was looking at this for technical levels was doing pretty good if they were buying off of $9.
I think it looks great, Tom. So the short float is 15%. Like you said, it's up 8% today, which is a lot, but it's Clover. It has that history of just booming up. I think it looks pretty solid right now. Guys, remember it is risky, so keep that in mind, but I do like the setup. The breakout looks great. Shelly said next resistance for Clove, please. So I'm definitely going to agree with Tom at that $10 level. It's a huge level in the past, and it's also a psychological level. So overall, I really like it. It has that potential, and the more people that talk about it, generally the better the squeeze should be. So keep that in mind. I think it looks pretty solid. And after 10, 12 looks pretty big, and then after 12, I'm looking at the chart, like there's no like major resistance in my opinion until like that $15 area.
Yeah, that's definitely a good thing. If we could break 10, that would be an amazing move. Another like good breakout play. If we maybe that'll happen tomorrow or something, that could be a really good idea there, Mike. And who knows, like a break of 10 could honestly be a pretty good like 2-point move. What are we up today? 64 cents, and it's up 7%. So yeah, it's pretty hard to say, but I like it too. And I would think like right now, Mike, since we broke 950, like I would hope that we could get a nice run up towards $10.
Alrighty, let's go. And then we have Nye saying, will CCJ continue to run? So it depends on what time frame you're asking. As of like the next 5 minutes, I don't know. As of the next week, I don't know. I really like it though for like the next couple months to like the next couple years. I think it has a ton of potential. So it's more of like a longer term play for me. I like it over the next couple months to the next couple years. But anything can happen in the short term. If we're being honest, it definitely is overbought in the short term. Like it went from 16 up to 22, so it's definitely overbought, and I wouldn't be surprised if we pull back maybe to 21 or so. So definitely keep that in mind. We have Sean saying the SPY's taking a beating, and it is, Sean. I'm very glad you pointed that out because we're looking at all these hype stocks while the SPY's getting smacked.
Yeah, the SPY is really starting to go down, which is kind of crazy to see. Like, look at this solid move. Once we broke below 452, it just seemed like the sell-off was just very accelerated and just continues down. I see the next support at like 451 and then 450 below that. But wow, this is just a bad move for the SPY. And just, I don't think anyone really expected this today, especially like with Tesla being up in pre-market and all these stocks going up today. I just think it's really catching people off guard. But there's some of the bigger stocks are down. Like I'm seeing Triple M, which is a pretty solid stock on my watch list, really down today, actually down 2.2%. Boeing down today around 2% too. Wow, look at Boeing sell off today. That's really accelerated, actually. Pretty bad, actually, below the $220 support. Pretty bad looking there. We have McDonald's down, AMD down, Moderna down, Target down. So it seems like all the stocks, like the bigger value stocks, are down today, Mike, which is pretty interesting. But hey, I'm glad, if those start to fall, just throw your money into some of these growth stocks. I'd rather play the growth stocks anyways.
Yep, I'm with you. And then we have JD saying still no movement on low float infrastructure stock ATCX yet. Let's take a look. ATCX, it's making higher lows, which is good. So either way, I'll keep my eye on it. Then we have, William saying VIH. So I actually been hearing a bunch of people talk about this one. It's looking good. It's up like 8% so far today. IV's popping off. So definitely has potential. Then we have Williams also saying VIAC has a lot of open interest on the 50 strike calls for September 17th. One thing to keep in mind is the stock is at like 42. The 50 strikes are really far out of the money. I just checked the open interest. And one thing to keep in mind is while there can be a ton of open interest on that option, like there's not really any like major like takeaways you can get from that. Like there can be an open interest for a bunch of different reasons. It could be a bunch of people or like an institution holding short calls open, or it could be like a giant call debit spread, or it could be a bunch of people from Wall Street Bets who YOLO'd into VIAC calls, a couple months ago that are still holding. So there's a bunch of different scenarios you can get from that. So definitely keep that in mind. And then we have Sean saying Tesla is moving on up. So I know it was booming earlier. We're up like 3% or so. I mean, it looks great, Tom. And, when I see this Tesla movement, I can't help to think, like, is Burry still holding a short position?
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Like that would be really hard to keep holding this right now, especially with the break above 700 and then up above 725. Like that would be pretty hard. Personally, like if it was me, I think I would have got rid of it as they fell below 600. Like that seemed like a pretty good double bottom at support there. So I don't know. It'd be really hard for me to say that he is, but I would think that he's more of betting on the overall market than he is on Tesla alone, like on his treasury positions and stuff. But man, just really with Tesla, I don't know. I would think he got rid of him personally with the way it's moving up. It'd be really hard to keep holding these. Like if we get a solid move up to like 800 or higher, it'd be really hard for me to keep holding them. But look at this on the daily. Every time we hit this blue trend line, Tesla ends up falling down. Even though we're on the uptrend here, it seems like we're hitting the blue trend line and then falling down and consolidating, hitting the blue trend line, consolidating. Right now we're at the trend line again. And I'm really curious. Like, are we going to finally get a breakout this time? Like if we're going off of the past 4 or 5 times, it's probably going to hit this trend line and just consolidate and slightly go down. But I would really love to see Tesla finally get the breakout and go up to like 800 or something. That would be an amazing move. And honestly, with the momentum that we see today, I would not be too surprised if investors started to really flock into this one.
Alrighty. And then we have Jorge saying SPCE doesn't seem to go below 24. So, yeah, it's been holding that $24 support for some time now. I don't think it's too bad of a time to sell some puts, but it's definitely a risky play. And then we have G saying, thoughts on adding to my position in Microsoft at $2.99. So, I'm not a huge fan of it, to be honest. I mean, statistically speaking, like time in the market is better than timing the market. So, it doesn't hurt to add a little bit more, but just with everything I've been seeing, I think it would be smarter to wait.
Yeah, me too. And it's posting lower highs. And Mike, on the daily chart, this is really reminding me of like, I'm not saying, of course, COVID's like not going to happen again, or who knows, maybe the Delta variant will. But either way, like look at the way Microsoft looks right now in the daily chart. We have lower highs and we have a failure to break out above 305. And in the past here, right before COVID happened, we had the same type of setup here on the daily chart. We broke out to new all-time highs, ran up pretty significantly, and then posted lower highs and started to turn off. And it looks like we're at the same area right now. And guys, we've been saying Microsoft has been overbought for so long right now. And it looks like we might finally get that bad move. We just broke below $300. And I think that Microsoft looks like we could really fall down. To me, I think 275 seems like a pretty good level to target over the next couple of weeks. Now, it might take some time. It might not just go straight down like it did last time. But either way, I think it definitely looks overbought, Mike. What about you?
Yeah, I'm with you, and I think it's just like the market in general. And I think another like point to keep in mind is, like we said earlier in the stream, I feel like we're seeing a rotation out of stocks like Microsoft, Apple, and stocks like that, and into some of these other stocks like you could say DraftKings, CZR, PENN, and Coursera even. Like there's just like, in my opinion, a big rotation going on, and I think that's pretty obvious when you just look at these charts. So keep that in mind, and then the market's just kind of, it's just overbought. So I can definitely see like stocks like Microsoft coming down a little bit. And then we have Sean saying Burry is pounding his drumsticks right now. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't doubt it, Sean. And then we have A saying just put on a SPY 452 to 422 vertical put as a hedge with the November expiration. I like it. Looks really good. I really like that setup. G said, okay, perfect. Glad I asked. I'll wait. So good stuff there. Across the board, Tom, it looks like we're seeing a lot of mixed movement. You know, we have stocks like, you know, Microsoft tanking off a little bit, Boeing tanking off a little bit, Apple popping up. Then we have Clover booming up. It looks like they're almost up 9% on the day.
Yeah, look at Clover. Look, we might actually get up towards that $10 level. Like we said, once it broke 950, it seemed like there was not really any resistances between 950 and 10. So I would expect a good move up towards $10, and it could be a pretty good intraday play if you time it right. But I really like Clover off that $8 support. I mean, man, we've been watching it down here for like, what is it now? What has it been, Mike? 2 or 3 months now. Like, it's just been down here for so long. The opportunity has definitely been there to pick up Clover on this dip, but really am glad to see it running. And I'm really going to wait for that break above 10. I mean, like you said, there's not really any resistance until $12.
Tom, the one stock that seems to just boom every day no matter what, UPST. It's up 5% again today in brand new all-time highs.
Yeah, back up to $260. I mean, what a move with them. I figured we would see that with the way it was moving. It opened today, and we finally got up there. Glad to see it happening with UPST or Upstart. And man, I know a lot of people have been looking at this one and they've been buying it up here, even as it was up all at the 220 resistance and everything. Really broke up through there nicely. And wow, what a good move up to 260. I mean, I'm definitely looking for it to come down at some point, but who knows how high it can go. I mean, I would not be surprised if we were ending the week at 300, like just with the way everything's been going lately. You know, I would not be betting on that myself, but it would not surprise me by any means.
All right. And then we have Corbin saying, how does GLD and the dollar look to you guys? I'm thinking GLD is going to continue down. The DXY looks bullish. So, Tom, what are you thinking?
Yeah, $DXY. I mean, it's been looking pretty bullish to me too for a while. I mean, it is kind of bouncing off that support at like $91 to $92. But either way, I mean, GLD has had some nice moves up lately, up to like $170. Now they are coming down right now, especially at open. Like that's a pretty big sell-off. So we'll have to see how it ends up moving. But I'm with you. I mean, $DXY is just right on that support. And if it keeps holding and it ends up going up, I could see gold possibly falling off in the shorter term too.
All right. I mean, I like it for the longer term for a variety of reasons. Like, it's just like more of like a longer term play to me. The short term movement does look a little scary though. So
yeah, the main thing is just like with the dollar, like it affects gold so much that it's almost like they're like an exact inverse of each other. I know that they're not exact, but yeah, normally like if the dollar's up, gold's down. And I know it's pretty hard to like trade both of them that way. And, you know, there's lots of stuff that affects them. Like with gold, for example, like sometimes gold will move because China decided to buy, an unannounced amount of gold, and it just makes the market fly. Or, you know, there's so many weird scenarios out there with the dollar market and the gold market. So lots of stuff affects it. And it looks like I said, the dollar's at support, but gold for the long term should be pretty good. You know, like generally, like if we go to like, let's just go to gold futures /GC, make it easy. Let's just go to like a max weekly for the long term. I mean, you can see here, like if you hold gold for like the matter of like 3 to 5 years, I mean, your chances of winning are pretty high.
Yep, for sure. And then we have William saying FUTU and PDD moving nicely. So let's take a look at them. FUTU is up like 7%. You know, all the China stocks, you know, PDD, they're definitely popping off. Looks pretty good, but keep in mind, all of these China stocks have very unique risks.
Yeah, look at this. FUTU really moving up. I mean, really good moves. Is this a China stock too?
Let me take a look real quick. Let me see.
Okay. Yeah, I got you. But this is looking really solid here. I mean, once we broke up through $100, it's just been a great move. I see resistance at 120, but I really like the way it's moving like today and maybe for the next couple of days.
Yeah, so they are a China stock. But you know, when I like, oh, wow. yeah, so definitely China stock. Like when you look at all of the stocks like Baba, Baidu, PDD, FXI, like we can just see they've been taking a beating over like the past year, especially. So it is good to see them having this awesome bounce back up. But guys, just keep in mind like there's very unique. It's a very unique situation.
Yeah, and PDD's chart actually looks really good here. I haven't looked at them in a couple days, Mike, since they were down here around $80, but their recovery up looks good too. And I think FUTU, I don't think it's fallen off as much as some of the other China stocks. Like BABA and them have been falling for a lot longer than FUTU. Like BABA's been going down ever since like last February. And I'm really curious to see why FUTU has been holding its ground a little bit better than some of the other ones. I think it truly has.
All right, Clove, Tom. It looks like we're going for that $10 level. We're still like 30 cents away, but we're now up almost 10% on the day. It's booming up. IV's popping. It looks great.
Yeah, I think we'll finally get there eventually today. It's just moving up slow and steady on the 1 minute chart. Really good movement. I mean, honestly, just a really good play. I know lots of people have been looking at Clover, especially like Sean. I mean, wow, he's been playing Clover like every day, but look at this off of $9, just really good support today. And I don't know like what happened this morning, but AMC, Clover, and all those stocks are flying up. Like AMC, even really good move off that 42.50 support on Friday. Like overall, these setups have just been fantastic this morning.
All right. We have Bravo joining saying, good morning, guys. Can you guys look at Amazon? Is it a sell at these levels or rather hold? So, for the long term, Amazon, they're a great company. They do great, right? And there's a saying that says time in the market is a lot better than timing the market. So if this is a long-term hold, I would just hold it. It's hard to, just try and time it. But for the short term, I think it's definitely a sell. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good sell too. Look at the trend line on my chart here. Pretty solid blue trend line. We actually just touched it, got 2 red candles right after that touch. So I'm going to be looking for a possible move down. Now, if we break this blue trend line and we get a good move up above like 35.55 or 35.50 or even like 35.60, it's hard to say with Amazon with how high priced they are. But if they break this blue trend line to the upside, I'll be more bullish on them. But I personally feel like it could end up falling down.
All right, huge shout out, Bravo, for the super chat. Thank you so much, Bravo. We really appreciate it.
Let's go.
Bravo came in with the super chat saying, can you guys look at UVXY? So absolutely, let's take a look. UVXY, today it is up around 3.5%. I think it's a pretty solid hedge. We could see the market overall is selling off just a little bit, and I think it's a great hedge. If the market were to tank, this thing will pop. So I like it overall. Keep in mind it does have like a leverage with it, so you don't want to like put too much into it, and but either way, I really like it as a hedge, and I think it's a good addition to the portfolio for the short term.
Yeah, and it's at pretty good levels right now too. Like it's not like you're buying it at the highs after the market already fell or anything either. Like it's definitely at a good level, and I feel like it could definitely go up here in the shorter term, especially with the way the market looks like it's falling over, like the SPY especially. So I think it could be pretty good, and even for shares, like Mike said, I think that would be the way to go with it. It's really low right now, and if this could pop back up to $28 or $30, you're talking about a really significant move. So I really like it as a good hedge. I wouldn't necessarily play it if that's all I had, but as a hedge, I think it's a really good play. And once again, thanks for the super chat.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bravo. And I think that's going to help a lot of people out. I feel like, when the market falls, some people just think, maybe I just sell out of all my plays. But there's actually a lot of things you can do besides that, like buying puts, but also, buying VXX or UVXY. So great job, Bravo. We have Vicky coming in saying, hit the like, guys. So yeah, if you like our stream, it would help us out so much if you could hit the like button. So far, we're having a very great day in the market. AMC's popping off, Clover's popping off. The market's down a little bit, which kind of sucks. But hey, these meme stocks are really popping off.
And AMC is actually right at the top of its range. I just noticed here on the 90-day, 15-minute chart. Looks pretty good here. There's a big resistance at $48. If we break that, I think we could get a pretty easy move up to 50. It looks like a pretty good setup today. Lots of momentum coming in. It almost reminds me of Clover. Clover's getting close to that $10 resistance. They're actually already to $9.88. So they're really close to $10. And I know we were talking about them when they were at like $9.20, $9.30, and a lot whenever they were at like 9.50. But great moves out of both of these stocks, and seems like the hype is just really there today for these short squeeze stocks. Mike, I wonder if people are going to start hopping back in.
Yeah, for sure. Then we have Bravo saying Boeing is selling. Yeah, they're getting smacked today. They're down like 2%. I do like them for the long term, though. And he also mentioned CCJ. So I really like CCJ for the long term. Now, anything can happen in the short term. If I'm being completely honest, they are definitely overbought in the short term. So I could see them, maybe retesting 21 or so. But for the long term, like the next couple months, the next couple years, I really like the setup. And the IV is still relatively low. And then we have Bravo saying the VIX is popping up, though, despite some stocks are up. Yeah, it shows that, people are really just bidding up these options prices. Like the VXX is up 3%. The VIX index is up 11%. So, there's, it looks like a lot of people are already hedging themselves.
Yeah, definitely they are. And I think people are just hopping in right now, especially with all these catalysts going on. And, like I didn't you remember that jobs report? I think last week it was, Mike. Yeah, I think it was last week. The jobs report was actually really bad, wasn't it?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, terrible jobs report. And, Powell's been talking nonstop about the jobs. The jobs numbers are the big economic data factor that the Fed is looking at. I've heard him say it time and time again. So maybe next time he talks, if these jobs numbers keep going south, he might say something negative about the market or something, really make it go down. And with the way the VIX is popping up today, I would not be surprised if the market continued to sell off for a day or two. Like, I think a lot of people are looking at the market thinking it's overbought right now, de-risking themselves, number one, with stocks that are overbought like Microsoft and Apple, but number two, probably buying up these other stocks like DraftKings, Penn, AMC, and maybe some of those other lower ones.
I can see it. And then, Tom, we have G saying $9.80 on Clove, smashing bananas. But hey, it's almost at 10. We're at $9.99.
Yeah, $9.99. Look at that. Great bargain right now. No, I'm just joking, but still up at $10. Looks pretty good. I wonder if we'll get a break up through here, Mike. I mean, what solid momentum today. We might. I mean, it's touched this a couple times already, so I would not be surprised, but hopefully we can see a break. It just touched $10 even here. I really hope to see it move up. Let's see if we can see it on the 1 minute chart, but wow. I mean, it's just a solid move today. I know lots of people have been waiting for this, and I know that me and you have been waiting, Mike, all morning for it, and it's finally there.
Yeah, I mean, it's having a really good day, like up 13%. Looks like we just broke, looks like we just hit $10.05. So it's really running up. Lots of people are talking about it. IV is, really starting to pop off. So definitely keep your eye on Clover. We have Bravo saying V is a good hedge stock. I read on articles. I mean, yeah, they're a solid company. Doesn't hurt to buy them up. And then we have Shelby saying resistance on Corsair. So CRSR, it's looking good. It's up like 1.5% today. I see resistance at, well, basically where we're at right now, right around like $29.15. And then after that, the stronger resistance is right at 30.
Yeah, I see that too. And honestly, this is pretty good if we could break out above that like 29.15 level, like you said. I think it could be a pretty good day trade up towards 30. Like that could be a pretty easy move, I think.
All right. And then we have Vicky saying, dash support and resistance, please. Let's take a look. So DASH. Tom, what levels are you watching for this one?
I was really looking for it to break out above 195, and it kind of did that this morning and then pulled right back down. But now it looks like it's recovering back up. So intraday, this one's pretty hard to say. I mean, look at this like V shape that it made. Yeah, really hard to say for me intraday. It's really hard. I would say there's a resistance up around 200, which is why it fell at 199.50. But like where we are right now, to me, like it's a pretty hard one to try to trade intraday with the way it moved up and down like that.
Good stuff. And then we have AJ saying, do you think the SPY will bounce back? It's been going down, but I imagine a pullback has to come. So statistically speaking, the SPY will probably bounce back, but I don't think it's going to happen. The market is just kind of whack right now, so I don't see it happening, and I definitely think it would be smart to get some hedges in there, whether it be UVXY, VXX, or even some like put debit spreads.
Yeah, and if it does come back, like even like if it pulls back on an intraday level, like I personally don't see it going back above this 452 resistance. Like that resistance looks like it's going to be pretty strong now. There's definitely been a lot of moves there. So I would say if it does go up a little, watch for 452. But I'm more of with Mike. Like I would definitely look at it more for the downside. And I know a lot of people try to like catch the bottom and try to buy like a quick call on these big moves to the downside, but on the days where it really accelerates down and just keeps going, it could really hurt you. And one thing to keep in mind is that the market's only been open now for like 45 minutes, like it's only we're like only within the first hour of the day so far. There's still a lot of movement to still happen. And I've seen days where the SPY's fallen a lot more than it has now.
Yeah, I can't believe the market's only been open for 45 minutes. Feels like we've been sitting there for like, I don't know, it's crazy. This stream is flying by. And then we have Vicky saying Powell is the GOAT. So he's doing very well. He's definitely holding the market up. And I'll say that he's had a tough job, especially dealing with everything that happened with the COVID crash. So I definitely have a lot of respect for him. And then we have Jorge saying BLNK is trying to pop. Let's see. Yeah, it's up 2%. It's holding its ground, and I actually really like it for some short puts.
Yeah, me too. I think that would be the best way to play it. Maybe somewhere around that $30 strike or $31 could be really good to grab shares there. And even for like a move to the upside for like a momentum play, I think it could be good as long as we moved above $34.
All right. And then we have, let's see, we have Bravo saying, how about two new stocks on my list? I'm looking at WY and AVTR. So let's take a look at these two real quick. He said WY is a wood REIT stock and AVTR is basic materials for medical biotech equipment. So sounds very interesting. I actually never heard of either of these ones, but they sound very interesting. I'll have to take a look.
Yeah, really interesting. And WY on the daily is actually moved pretty good. So, like, they had that big crash with COVID, of course, like a lot of stocks, or yeah, was this? Yeah, they had that big crash with COVID and they recovered up really nicely and looks pretty solid. And I like them, it looks like a pretty solid play on the chart. I don't know anything about them fundamentally, but either way, I think it looks pretty good for a possible play to the upside, even for like the next week or two. Like, it's had a lot of good momentum here.
All right, and then we have Sal saying, how long can you hang on to VIX shares if it's just going sideways? So, if it's just going sideways and, you're not losing money or making money, you can hold on to it for as long as you want. It really just depends on your stance on the market. VIX is a tool to, use really when the market's going crazy. So when the market is tanking to the downside, VIX is great to the upside. But you really don't want to hold it for the long term because they're not meant for that. You know what I mean? So honestly, like it's just like a play for the short term. So you really don't want to hold on to it too long. But if you're at break even, you can hold on to it for as long as you want. And then we have Corbin saying, how does EXAS look to you? Let's take a look. EXAS. They're making lower highs, which sucks to see, like, over the past year. But, like, on that max weekly chart, they're booming up. So, I like them. The chart looks pretty solid.
Yeah, the max weekly's good. And even on, like, the max daily here, like, pretty good bounces off that $90 support. It actually double bottomed right there. So, maybe that'll pose as a pretty good bottom here for EXAS. And maybe we'll get some good upwards movement for the next, like, 3 months or so. But as long as it holds $90, I think it'll be pretty good.
All right, good stuff. And we have Bravo asking about AVTR. So let's take a look. AVTR, I know we just checked it out. It's up a good amount today, up 2.5%. It's looking good. Talk about that recent uptrend, Tom. It's like a nice, slow and steady, boom up. I like it.
Yeah, it's just really slow and steady. And it's like, even though there's some red days mixed in there, it's just really like more of consolidation days rather than any real true red days. And yeah, just almost straight up here for the past year. This is actually a pretty crazy chart. Ever since COVID, it had lows of $6.66. And oh no, that's not a good number. But look at the way it came up from there. Just ever since those 1 or 2 very volatile days there, it just went straight up, which is pretty crazy.
All right, so Tom, do you have any last minute stocks, options, or anything you're watching for the rest of the day?
Wow. I know we've talked about VXX a lot, but it's starting to look pretty good here. And, there's a lot of big volume coming into VXX over the past few months, especially look at the volume coming in here, I know that me and Mike in the past have really studied like VXX volume. And once you notice that like VXX is getting low and starting to stay flat with this much volume, that might be a bunch of whales buying this up. So just keep that in mind, because if it was starting to sell off significantly, then that volume would be more attributed to people selling it. But as of right now, it looks like a pretty good setup in the market. Looks like, especially with the SPY, like it's just up so much, and like we might start to finally see that turnover to the downside. So hedging yourself is definitely not a bad way to go right now. VXX could definitely be the way. Now, if you just have to have like a bullish stance on the market, then I think that some of these stocks like NIO look really good today. Like look at this setup today, it really broke out above 41, and I think this even has potential for later on.
Good stuff. So thank you guys so much for joining the stream today. We have a lot of action going on in the market. Huge shout out, Bravo, for the super chat. We really, really appreciate it. But guys, the market's going crazy. We have Clove popping, Neo popping, Tesla, VIX, you name it. But thank you guys so much for joining. We had a great time. We hope you have an amazing rest of your day.